we're still waiting a bit just to see if we have some other attendants coming in. Gonna give it about maybe a minute more. Um, but in the meantime, feel free to say hello, say where you're from, um, talk a little about how your week has been. Um, we're here. Okay. Right, I'm gonna start preparing the presentation. Hi, Deanne.
Good morning, Paolo.
Good morning. Thanks for being here.
Oh, of course, I'm looking forward to it. I now work with the Yateman in Portugal, so this is exciting.
Mm-hmm. That's great. I'm happy you're here.
Thank you.
All right. All right. I think we can start. So for now, just for the sake of the flow of the presentation, I'm gonna turn cameras and microphones off. Uh, but at the end of the presentation, of course, you're more than welcome to turn your camera and mic on so we can have a conversation, questions, comments, everything.
Okay, so good morning, everybody. For those of you who do not know me, my name is Teresa Donofrio, and I'm here with my friend and colleague Paolo Grillo.
Hi, everyone.
We're very excited and grateful for all of you joining us today. And for those who are joining this travel week for the first time, welcome. In this particular session, and during the whole travel week, actually, we want to inspire engagement and interaction. We want to provide you with information that are really valuable to you. You, our hoteliers in our selection, are in essence the foundation of our mission. You represent the very best in the world of hospitality, and it's our goal to work with you as closely as possible to achieve our mission, which is to give our users an incredible experience and to promote your hotel in the best possible light, and ultimately to bring you more bookings from our amazing clients. So having that in mind, there is nothing really better than to dedicate our resources to a session that caters to such a strategic region like Southern Europe. In this session, we will be able to interact, as Paolo already mentioned, in a dedicated Q&A portion at the very end of the presentation. But while the presentation is ongoing, please feel free to write your question, your comment on the chat as we go. And of course, by the end, during the Q&A session, we can turn on your camera, your microphone, if you're happy with that, so we can better interact and exchange information. We really hope that you enjoy the session. I am going to leave the floor to Paolo now, who will kickstart our session.
Thank you so much, Teresa. Okay, so as we all know, we're here today to do a Southern Europe market analysis, and let's get started. So in the next 30 to 40 minutes, our goal is to recap the tablet and Michelin Guide performance for Southern Europe in 2023. We also want to explore key takeaways from this data and then consider what to expect in 2024. So here is a 2023 performance recap. Southern Europe continued the strong performance that we saw in 2022. The region benefited heavily from a strong US dollar, so international travel played a major part in the great performance. Despite rates being at all-time highs, it still did not deter demand, and bookings were most concentrated in major cultural capitals. So how was the booking performance this year? As I mentioned, we had a very similar, a strong performance compared to 2022, with a mild drop, about 5% in production. But let's not forget that higher rates made up for it. So revenue this year was actually higher than 2022. And compared to pre-pandemic numbers to 2019, the increase was substantial and significant, especially if we look at other regions that are still not recovered post-pandemic. Just some great information here is that international flights increased capacity by 22% this year. So flights from the US to these regions in Europe, to Southern Europe, increased by 22% to pick up this high demand. So now let's look at rates. So rates, as I mentioned, remained at all-time highs and increased a further 10% compared to last year and 36% above 2019. You can see that in the first 6 months of the year, the increase was higher. So you can see, like, comparing the red line to the gray lines, and it was about 16%. And then from August onwards, from July onwards, the increase was only 4%, mostly due to seasonality. So we see a peak on spring, and then now rates are lower. But one thing that is super interesting about this chart is also the fact that you can see that even the low season period rates for this year are comparable to high season periods in 2022. Now let's look at the cities that benefited the most from this. Rome, Florence, Barcelona, Milan, and Madrid were the most booked destinations. And that shows that our audience is still looking for major cultural capitals. We also saw a big spike in trending markets like Lisbon, Porto, and Mallorca. And that also is related to additional direct flights that were created coming from the US. We also definitely need to mention Athens as a destination and also as a gateway to the Greek islands, having an incredible year in our channels. So here you can see a little bit of the percentages. And then moving on to feeder markets. This is a great way for us to show you how our audience is made for this region, right? And how does that compare to what you're seeing in your hotels? So our audience is mostly made by international travelers. International travel remains strong. And again, they're the biggest market feeder for the region. In 2023, we even saw a mild growth to an already huge market share, as you can see in red. And then in second, we have a reasonable percentage of Europeans traveling to these destinations. That will be this green or blue. And then in yellow, you can see a percentage of domestic travelers. Now, no surprise that 60% of our audience is it's made of Americans. It comes from the US. And you can see here in this chart how there is a substantial difference to our second largest audience in the region, which is the UK. So putting together, Europeans will make up to 20% of the mutual guests that we have, compared to the US alone with 60%. And Americans have always been a strong audience for our partners in the region, But some of the reasons why this market share is increasing now are the dollar being so strong, as we mentioned, the additional offer of direct flights to the region, and also a conversation that started last year and it's still happening very much, which is the phenomenon of revenge travel, with Americans dreaming about longer, further, and dreamier vacations in the post-COVID era. Now, looking at conversion rates, this will be an interesting chart. So while rates are at all times high, conversion rates remain in line with 2022 and also with industry standards. Also, it's going to be interesting to note that so far we're talking how 2023 and 2022 were far superior years in production compared to 2019. But you can see in this graphic that starting in August, conversion rate in 2019 spiked, whereas for 2023 and 22, they remained consistent. And so it's a bit deceiving because it makes us conclude that 2019 was converting better, meaning that they were getting more bookings. And that's not exactly what happened. What happened was in 2019, interest declined started in August due to seasonality. So they were just following the right path, like the regular path, I would say. Whereas in 2022 and 2023, the amount of searches that we were receiving were still really high. So conversion is a combination of searches, how many searches and bookings you receive. And so because searches were so high for 2022 and 2023, our conversion rates were lower than 2019. But if you actually look at production, 2022 and 2023 had more bookings than 2019. Also, we're talking about high revenue and then being generated by high rates, but also there's another aspect to make revenue grow, which is because most of the stays in Southern Europe are intercontinental and most times they're also multi-destination trips, the average length of stays are also longer for this region. So we're seeing that not only guests are paying a higher rate, but they're staying in average 2.4 days, 2.4 nights in Rome, 2.6 nights in Barcelona. So we're seeing very long trips happening. And that's also part of what I was talking about, revenge travel. Also, we can touch on leisure travel, which is where more and more travelers are blending remote work and vacations. And also, very popular in Europe is the stayovers, which you book a flight and then you stay for 2 or 3 nights at a destination before you reach your final stop. So between ADR peaking in 2023 and average length of stays getting longer, what we're seeing is that the average gross booking value is skyrocketing in 2023. And we can see that Italy is leading the pack. And the major Iberian cities also are not far behind. So again, this is the perfect combination with the enthusiasm of travel post-pandemic, the revenge travel, the dollar being favorable, and also another aspect, another element is the influence of TV shows on travel, most notably the White Lotus on HBO and how much that spiked travels to Italy and to Southern Europe in general. So now that we've gone over 2023, we have to think what's going to happen in 2024. And for that, I'm just going to ask Teresa that question. So do you have any idea what to expect, Teresa?
Yeah, thank you, Paolo. Actually, yes, we have a few predictions for 2024 to share here. So we predict leisure travel. You already touched on that very quickly, where people extend work-related trip into mini vacation will continue to rise. Why? Because remote work really seems not to stop. So we will see more on that during the course of 2024. When it comes to international travel, this will remain stable with the dollar still being very strong. The only question is whether or not it will continue at 2023 levels, or will it see a slight decline? In any event, experts point to a continued favorable dollar in Q1 2024. So we can expect a high percentage of American booking stays for Southern Europe in the early part of the year, and then rates to reset and decline modestly, and if the dollar depreciates. Gastronomy and authentical experience will remain the #1 growth motivation, as more and more travelers are looking for authentic food, authentic cultural experiences. This is indeed a good thing now to be associated to the Michelin Guide more than ever. With rates remaining high and major destinations becoming saturated, 2024 is likely to be the year of luxury for less and dupe cities, so alternative destinations to a popular hotspot. This is in fact an opportunity for alternative markets to shine, but also for hotels in those major destinations to create intimate experience and prioritize cost benefit for their guests. We also predict, as you mentioned, more TV tourism as consequence of TV show program, television program, in which a host visit travel destinations, demonstrating a local cuisine, lodging, attraction, and that increases interest in a destination. Next slide. So on this slide, here we are showing four biggest regions, our four biggest regions. However, let's focus on the last one on your right-hand side, the Southern Europe column. What we are already seeing here for 2024, for booking made for stays on weekends, midweek, or crossover, meaning they stay the days they were weekends or midweek days, we are seeing the majority of bookings made for on crossover stays. This is clearly showing the flexibility of our users to stay for crossover trips, again, due to the remote work possibility and the leisure. So we predict that we will see more on this as well in 2024. Now, what does the Michelin Guide has to say? So no doubt, Southern European trips are for the gastronomy and the cultural lovers. Travelers visiting Southern Europe are seeking for cool weather, beautiful beaches, stunning coastlines, seaside city, and sublime food scenes. On the Michelin Guide website, we just want to highlight this data for you. 33% of users that looked at the hotel page also looked at the restaurant page in the same session. It's no news that in Southern Europe, we boast an enviable gastronomic scene. And just to share some numbers, the Michelin Guide 2023 showcased around 1,400 restaurants throughout Spain, Portugal, and the Principality of Andorra, and around 281 receive a Bib Gourmand, which is a great meal for a good value restaurant. And on the next slide here, we are looking at demand. So when it comes to demand, currently for Southern Europe, we are seeing this city increase the most in searches. And as users search for these cities and see them on the map on the map interface we have for bookings, it's good to know and to keep in mind that they will be aware of other cities in that region, and eventually people decide to go there as well. In Italy, for example, we are seeing the biggest increase in major city and also in its charming coastal town, especially around the Amalfi Coast and the Italian city, Sicily. As Paolo mentioned, due to the White Lotus effect, the popular HBO series was filmed here, and this really caused a surge in hotel and flight searches for Sicily. Same for Portugal. We are seeing here an extraordinary increase in cities such as Lisbon, Porto, as well as in coastal destinations. Next slide, please. If we move to Spain, we are also seeing searches increase in major cities such as Barcelona, Madrid, Sevilla, and also in coastal towns such as San Sebastian and Balearic Islands. Again, you may spot on the slide location like Palma, Ibiza, Alo. Again, as previously mentioned, these islands are they are really benefit from the new direct flight between the US and Palma de Mallorca city. As for Greece, we are seeing increases in Athens, Crete, and the beautiful Greek island Zakynthos. We are also seeing increase for Dubrovnik in Croatia, and for Portugal and Turkey, we also see an increase in major city and coastal towns. And we reached, no, it's okay. We reached the end of presentation. Thank you, Paolo.
Yeah, go ahead. No, I'm sorry. I thought for a second I was wondering if we missed a slide, but no, we didn't. Yes, I wanted to point out, I love the slide that we have for gastronomy, the slide that what the Michelin Guide has to say. Yeah. And I think it's super important that we mention to hotel partners how much of that synergy we're trying to reach. And we're seeing already this happen very naturally, as we saw 33% of users that went to the guide to look at restaurants, went back to look at hotels. And the goal is to make this even higher. And you know, if you had a chance to watch our global presentation, we had like a slide showing how users go more often to find restaurants, but they spend less. Obviously, a dinner, most cases, right? A dinner will cost less than a hotel stay. And so by creating that synergy and having them, because they trust the restaurant selection, having them coming to the hotel selection, and when they're traveling, they're gonna think of us first, is what we're trying to do. And we're trying to also make it easier for them to actually combine the balls. So, you know, thinking about a map feature where you can see your hotel and then where are the Michelin Guide restaurants around. You know, we are trying to go even further and have hotels actually letting us know also what are in the vicinities. So, you know, there's more information for the clients to decide. Like, we can do the work for you when it comes to the Michelin Guide restaurants, because that's who we are. But then the other factors we are asking you to provide. So that to me was really incredible. And also it's what sets us apart from other OTAs. So that's important, right? And we want to thank you everyone for being here. If this is a good time, if you want to ask a question, or if you would like to talk to us, this is a great time. You can turn your mics on, you can turn your camera on. And again, we really appreciate that you're all here. And please let us know if you have any questions.
We had, Paolo, an interesting session with Marie Prodal-Lead from the Michelin. She has been showing the Michelin Guide app and website demo. And this is linked to what you just said. It's really interesting, for hotels right now to be on the same page with the restaurant, associated with the restaurant. They are opening their properties to a wider audience. So it's very interesting for them to be on both platforms. And it was very interesting, all the features she showed us, all the community aspect of it, the possibility to save your preferred restaurant or hotel and share this with the community. There was also a new feature I learned about I've stayed here. So you have the possibility to have listed places that you've been, restaurant or hotels. That was really interesting.
Yeah, it's there is a presentation, and we, by the way, for everybody that is in, it's like we are at our third day of travel week, so there have been so many different webinars that right now, like I'm thinking, I keep saying there has been this presentation because there's always a different slide at a different one. But there was one topic mentioned that it's so important, which is travelers are looking for authentic experiences when they travel. And nothing more authentic than food, than gastronomy. And so that's why also I think that the Michelin Guide is so important, because the Michelin Guide is actually looking for that. It's not just about how flashy the restaurant is or the decor. It's really solely about the food. And personally, I also love the fact that I love the Bib Gourmands, because the Bib Gourmands, they are, they're great food and it's also accessible. So it's not that you're gonna dine and it's gonna be a very expensive experience. It will be more of a great experience, but not that expensive. So really cost effective, and especially nowadays that we're talking about rates being so high, and we are expecting things to continue well, but there is some concern about rates getting saturated to a point that it's so expensive that people will start thinking about not traveling anymore. So, or not necessarily, but maybe travel less or change the way they travel. So, yeah. But thank you, everyone. Again, we don't want to take much of your time. We really appreciate that you were here. For those of you that want to actually see this presentation in full, we are recording the presentation, and we will provide that later. And so if that was helpful for you and you want to talk to your colleagues, we're happy to share the presentation so you can share with them. Spreading information is also super important.
And Merry Christmas to everyone.
Yes, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and thank you again, everyone, for being here. And I hope to see you all soon.
Bye, Paolo. Thank you, everyone.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.